Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, attorney Kim Hegwood with Hegwood Law Group, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Good morning and welcome to Life Happens with me, Kim Hegwood, and our very special guest today, Inecia Stewart. And so, good morning.
Good morning, Kim.
And so, you work for, it looks like, Cozy Living Community. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And what do you do there?
I am VP of Operations there and part owner. It's an assisted living facility in Missouri City, Texas.
Awesome. And so we're going to talk today about residential care home and how to choose one. And so can you talk to our listeners about what what is a residential, care home, and how does it differ from other facilities? Because I think a lot of people are confused about all the different types of facilities that your loved ones could go to.
Yes, definitely. People are definitely confused, and thank you for offering or allowing me to speak today, because I get the same question. A lot of people are confused about what residential care homes are, and this is a great platform for them to learn about residential care homes and to make informed decision about their care and their care for their loved ones. But I'm gonna answer it in two parts. So a residential care home offers different personalized services such as lodging, meal services, and assistance with daily living. The difference is in residential care homes, we offer that in a home-like environment opposed to some of the larger institutions such as nursing homes or rehab facilities. And what makes this important is that you tend to get more individualized care in residential care homes because the ratio is a lot smaller. So the ratio for caregivers traditionally is about 3 to 6 residents per caregiver, where some of the larger facilities can go all the way up to 10 to 20 residents that they're caring for one caregiver. I was a clinical instructor for a CNA program and a patient care program, and I would go in and teach them all the skills that they need, and we would go into some of these institutions, and sometimes the caregivers would have residents. They would have the whole wing that they would have to look after, and that's difficult to provide individualized care when you have so many people you have to care for. So that's very important, but also a lot of people will get the terms mixed up. So residential care homes can be further divided into, and I'm just going to go over the more common ones that we're kind of confused with, is boarding homes, assisted living facilities, and personal care homes. So the residential care term is just kind of an umbrella term. And so boarding homes are often confused with assisted living facilities. And the difference is that boarding homes are registered by the city, whereas assisted living facility are registered by the state. They're licensed by the state, not registered. I'm sorry. Boarding homes, their occupancy is determined by the whole size of their facility, which is why you tend to see a lot more residents kind of crammed into one facility. As opposed to assisted living facilities, their occupancy is determined on the size of their bedroom, their living areas, their kitchen and dining areas. For example, their bedroom, if you're going to use it into a multi-room, it'll be for 80, the requirement is 80 square feet per each resident. And if it's a single bedroom, it's 100. So going back to boarding rooms, there's no requirement that has to be met there. It's just as long as they have a large square footage of the whole entire house. So that's important when you're trying to determine where you want to live or your loved ones want to live. Also, when you want to think about safety as well, when you're going into those boarding home facilities, um, take a look at what their safety issues are. Do they have, because a lot of them don't require that they have training for their staff, but assisted living facilities do require that there's training for their staff. And then the last term was personal care home. Usually this is kind of an older term. Assisted living facilities used to use this term, but now you see it mostly for those individuals that are going towards their assisted living facility license. but they have residents that are 3 and under. And so they haven't quite made their licensure, but they're moving towards there. But you want to keep in mind that some people use this as a way to kind of escape meeting some of the safety features that are required for the state.
So when you're talking about, different types of, facilities, we've got, a type A facility and a type B facility. What's the difference between the two?
A type A facility, a resident must be physically able and mentally able to evacuate the facility within 13 minutes. Um, this can include mobile devices, so they can be in a wheelchair or they can be in one of those motorized scooters, but as long as they have that physical capability to do it themselves and to escape within the 13 minutes, they can fit within a type A facility. Also, they have to have the ability to transfer themselves as well. So out of the bed into the wheelchair and make it out, or ambulatory. Um, Also, for type A facilities, these facilities you can have live-ins, in which you traditionally will see caregivers be live-ins because they can go to sleep at night. So it's not required that they stay up all night watching the caregivers. They can go to sleep whenever the residents go to sleep. But type B facility, um, you can you can give assistance, sorry, to these residents. So they can be in a wheelchair, and you can have caregivers help to transfer them into the wheelchair. You can have more of those individuals where they need a little bit more guidance to assist them to getting out. So mentally, they don't have to be mentally able to get out. You can direct them out of the type B facilities. And also, the type B facilities do require that the staff is awake and up for 24 hours around the clock care.
So what services do residential assisted living facilities generally provide?
The services kit is a long range of services, but mainly lodging, meal preparation, dietary management, assistance with meals, housekeeping, laundry services, medications, reconciliation whenever they go to the hospital and come back, managing and dispensing the medications and also refilling the medications. Um, Physical assessments, we're required to do annual physicals as well as annual service plans. And what that is just we reevaluate their care with the caregivers and with the family and determine what their plan of care will be in the future. And of course, assistance with activities of daily living as well.
When my former mother-in-law moved into assisted living, I went to see her a couple of months after she'd gotten in, and I said, "How are things going?" And she goes, "Oh my God, we should have done this years ago. I don't have to cook, I don't have to clean. They do my laundry. I just eat, goof off, have fun." She goes, "It's the best stuff." And so she was so excited, and so which was good because it was a big adjustment, but she really saw the pluses, really saw the pluses, which I thought was really good, and really focused on those. So that was pretty nice. And
Good.
so there's lots of different things, state requirements when it comes to, operating, these facilities. What are the ones that are required for what you have?
Of course, you're required to get a licensure, but the licensure does require you to take different steps to meet the state requirement. Um, I'm just gonna, because there's a long list. So
Hit
I'm
the
just
highlights.
yeah, I'm just gonna hit some hot topic buttons. Some of the most asked questions, for example, from the city and zoning planning, they're gonna be looking at that. Also, maybe your neighbors, assisted living facility neighbors. These are the questions that we get a lot, and family members, potential clients going in. So one of the major ones is parking. A lot of people are really interested in parking. Where are you? When you're in my neighborhood, where are we going to put all this parking? But unfortunately, a lot of the residents just do not have that many visitors, and they don't drive. So per the state, we are required, assisted living facilities are required. The ratio is 4-1. And what that means is for every 4 residents, we are required to have 1 parking space. So if you have a 16-bed facility, you will be required to have 4 parking spaces for that facility. The next one, the next hot button one, it would be safety. A lot of people want to know how safe it is there. So what are some of the requirements? And again, there's a long list of safety features that we have to meet, but a lot of them are dealing with fire, the sprinkler system. So we're required to have annual fire inspection, annual health and safety inspection, fire alarm sprinkler systems, monthly fire drills, disaster plans. We also required to do those mock drills as well. And then one of the most recent additions is the COVID. So how are we going to screen for COVID? If there's a COVID outbreak in our facility, what are we going to do? How are we going to protect the other residents from not getting it? And how are we going to treat that one that did come up positive? And then the last one that people are really concerned about is, how are you training your staff? Is your staff trained to care for my loved one? And per the state guidelines, we are required to do criminal background checks from everyone and run them through the misconduct registry. We're required to make sure that they have certain immunizations, and that's the influenza and the Hep B, and also to train them on the importance of having the immunizations. And then finally, the new hire training. They are required to have 4 hours of, at minimum, on your new hire before they even start working. And these topics include HIPAA, residents' rights, abuse and neglect, infection control, and then how they report different issues in the facility. And then they're also required to have CPR training, which is a biannual training. And then on-the-job training, uh, new hires, 16 hours of on-the-job training. What we do at our facility is we have a skills checklist. And so we pair them up with a preceptor. The preceptor will watch them do the skills, check off, make notes. So if there's anything that we have to train them a little bit more on, or maybe give them an additional training day, we do that. And then annually, they have to keep up with their training. So annually, they have to do 6 hours of training, and included in that is falls prevention.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I was in a facility yesterday afternoon seeing one of my clients, and so she said she tried to move and knocked over her oxygen tank, and she said she didn't know it was there when she was trying to get out of bed, and so she laughed and said, and the nurse came in and said, "Well, how'd that happen?" She said, "I don't know." I just started laughing. I'm like, okay. So why would you recommend that someone choose a residential care facility?
So definitely when you're making your decision for where you want to stay or where your loved one's going to stay, you want to think of the things that are important to you. So if living in a home-like environment is important, I definitely recommend residential care facility. Also, if staff training is important, remember, going back to boarding care homes, there are no requirements for training the staff. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're not training their staff, but there is nothing that the state or the city is going to come in and say, "Hey, did all of your caregivers get this topic of training?" Also, the ratio. You want to think about the ratio. Is that important to have individualized care? Because the the ratio is a lot smaller in residential care homes as opposed to those larger institutions. So that's important. My suggestion is, when you're trying to decide, you create a list, prioritize a list of your must-haves and your nice-to-haves, and then go through that list and start calling some different facilities, ask specific questions of what's important to you, and make your decision from there. I would definitely start with the phone calls before you start. You don't want to visit 50 facilities. Do your due diligence first before you start visiting and doing the tour, and then you can see personally what they're doing.
So tell us what's spectacular about Cozy Living Community.
Cozy Living Community, we're really involved and big on education and training. We feel like that's the key to growth and learning. We also, when we're looking for our new hires, we interview them based on our core values, and we push our core values. I know they're probably tired of hearing our core values, but we push them in our staff meetings and in our new hires. It's just that we want to provide that special culture in Cozy Living. And again, I say education is really big, but compassion. We want to make sure that they love what they're doing, but also that they're having fun doing it. too. We really encourage music and dancing and having fun. We have several videos of the caregivers dancing with the residents, but we want to pick people that really enjoy what they're doing, but also know what they're doing as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. So it says you're a president of Torch, and what is Torch?
Torch, it stands for Texas Organization of Residential Care Homes, and we are a nonprofit organization. We are Texas-based. We have local chapters in Houston, Austin, San Antonio, and Dallas and Lubbock. And at our chapter meetings, basically our mission is really about being advocates for the senior citizens and the disabled. And what we do is we try to promote that by providing support and resources for assisted living facility owners. At our chapter meetings, we focus on education and networking, and just sharing our passion. And sometimes just knowing that someone is in it with you is just all the difference. Like I just get motivated every time I go because, being an entrepreneur, you're like, oh, I just don't want to do this. But knowing that someone else is in it with you and we're all sharing the same goal and the same passion just really helps. And it's been an amazing journey being a part of Torch. I believe in it. And it's been growing me as well as an entrepreneur and learning about the industry.
I do think it's always great to get to a group of people that have the same problems and success and things like you do, to bounce ideas off and, to hope, because your goal is to make it better, to make it a better experience for, the entrepreneur, but also make it a better experience for the people that are living there, because ultimately, we're really looking for quality of life as we get older. That's my big, mantra. We want a good quality of life. And what does that look like? So I appreciate it immensely, you being on the show today. And so it's been a whole lot of fun. Tell people how they can find you if they want to come out and see Cozy Living Community.
Absolutely. Come on out and take a tour at Cozy Living Community. We are located in Missouri City, Texas at 1405 Adams Street. And you can schedule a tour on our website, which is www.cozylivingcommunity.com. My email list is provided, istewart_2@hotmail.com.
Perfect. And so, all right, girl, thanks so much for being on the show. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcast as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.